even the hardwoods, no, the mountain trees were fallen by the strength of the wind of this typhoon. And I think I would like to emphasize once again that the reason why there is minimal damage to life and of course kaunti na sugatan is because government was prepared for this calamity, learning lessons from the tragedy of Yolanda. I'm now ready for your questions.
Okay, first question from Ms. Weng de la Fuente of Net 25.
Good afternoon, sir. Yesterday, the President also mentioned about the revival of Masagana 99 and Yamang Dagat program of former President Ferdinand Marcos. And he instructed, based on news reports, he instructed you to review and how do you intend to go about it po?
Ma'am, actually, it was the statement was not the revival of Masagana 99, because Masagana 99, for your information, was a program, a rice sufficiency program started by former President Marcos 40 years ago. The variety of rice used then is no longer available now. No? I think what the President referred to was the concept of really focusing on self-sufficiency, no? In both our fisheries and our rice production. And this, again, I link to the unpredictability of the climate in view of climate change. This is now actually the battle cry that we have in the Department of Agriculture. We really have to make adjustments. No? In fact, in one presentation I made in the Agriculture Ministers Conference in Peru, my presentation was subtitled Adapt, Adjust, or Die. No? Because climate change is a reality. It affects agriculture, and we really have to make adjustments. So the focus actually, what the President intended to emphasize yesterday was focus on programs similar to Masagana 99, where government really concentrated on rice self-sufficiency and really devoted its efforts and funds to that program. In the same manner, Biyayang Dagat was also another outstanding program which could be replicated in current scenarios. No? So ito po yung hindi niya sinabing i-revive yung Masagana 99 because even if we like to, we cannot do it anymore, no? Because iba nga yung variety ng palay na ginamit nung araw. Iba din yung reality nung araw. 99 tumatama na po tayo ngayon ng 12-15 metric tons per hectare with proper support from government.
The previous administration tried to have a rice self-sufficiency, but they failed. So under this administration...
You know, you don't achieve rice sufficiency by simply talking about it and praying for it. You have to work for it.
You're working on it now, sir.
Well, how can you expect rice sufficiency when you do not expand your irrigated areas? How can you expect rice sufficiency when you do not support your farmers with good seeds, fertilizer, and sufficient irrigation water? I mean, that explains my statement. You don't just wish for it. You don't just pray for it. You have to work for it. You want to achieve rice sufficiency, you have to support it. You have to. There are three things important to food production. Number one is water. You cannot have food without water. Number two, in the context of rice production, you have to have good seeds. You know, the old seeds that our farmers have been using could only produce a maximum of 3.9 metric tons per hectare per harvest. That is our national average. But the hybrids now that some of our outstanding farmers are using could produce 12, 14, 15, 16 metric tons per hectare per harvest. That's a difference of 8 tons compared to 3.9. So you have to provide them with water, you have to provide them with good seeds, and you have to provide them fertilizers. If you just wish for this, it's not going to come your way. You have to provide these interventions to the farmers for you to realize rice sufficiency. And that is what we are doing right now.
Okay, next question from Karen Lema of Reuters. Please use the microphone. Thank you.
Secretary, is the damage to palay significant enough that the government might consider additional rice imports? Thank you.
As of the moment, I don't think so. I don't think so. Cagayan Valley actually is one of our major rice production areas. But the good thing is that some of our farmers were able to harvest their palay ahead of the typhoon. And that's the reason why I agree with the president when he said that there should be a review of the planting calendar. We should adjust our planting season so that it would not come during the rainy season and typhoon season.
Next question. Any more questions? None? All right. Thank you. Okay.
Yes.
Follow up.
Sir, just a quick one, since this is also probably your area. Are you privy to the meeting that the president had with some of Chinese officials? Because he said yesterday that he expressed optimism that our Filipino fishermen might be able to come back to Scarborough Shoal in the next few days. I was wondering if you had any other information beyond that.
I was actually with the president during the bilateral talks. I was a seat away from him. But maybe they discussed that in the one-on-one conversation. It was not discussed during the bilaterals. But I heard very clearly during the bilateral talks that President Xi Jinping of China emphasized the willingness of the Chinese government to support the Philippine government in its efforts to produce more food for the people. In fact, he mentioned repeatedly agriculture. And I was very, very happy about it because earlier on, when we were in Basilan on October 10 of this year, I mentioned to the president that for Philippine agriculture and fisheries to be able to really address poverty in the countryside, we must once and for all fast-track the establishment of the foundations of good agriculture and fisheries. What do I mean about this? Look, right now, the Food and Agriculture Organization is telling us that 40% of the total fish catch of the country is lost to spoilage because we don't have cold storage, we don't have ice-making facilities, and we don't have fish landing. 16% of our harvest is lost because of post-harvest losses. So I told the president, Mr. President, I said, if you would allow me to, I'd like to make exploratory talks with Chinese funding institutions to possibly finance the completion of all farm-to-market roads in the country during your term, the completion of the construction of fish landing, cold storage, and ice-making facilities over the next 5 years, and the establishment of post-harvest facilities and the procurement of machineries for agriculture over the next 5 years. Because I don't know what the next president's mindset would be in as far as agriculture is concerned. In as far as President Rudy Duterte is concerned, I admire his the depth of his understanding of agriculture. In fact, he's one of the very few leaders of this country who campaigned on the battle cry, available and affordable food for the Filipino. So I said, let's do it once and for all, Mr. President, because the longer we prolong the implementation of these projects, the longer we prolong the agony of our farmers and fisher folks.
Okay. Next question from Giovanni Nilias of Philstar.
Yes, sir. When we talk of reviving or using Masagana 99 and the Biyayang Dagat as a model for our food sufficiency program, sir, what mechanisms are we going to use, and then what would be our target time to achieve this rice sufficiency in the country?
Actually, Masagana 99 was anchored on the introduction of a variety of rice which was producing more than the ordinary rice at that time. And that was the reason why they were targeting 99, no? Parang yun ang target nila eh. And it also involved focus, no? Irrigation and fertilization. This was the focus of Masagana 99. The way I understood the president's statement yesterday was that ang sinasabi niya, let's focus once more, no? Let's focus once more. Kasi ang DA through the years actually strayed from its original mandate of really focusing on food production. It was involved in a lot of inconsequential and non-essential activities that did not really contribute directly to food production. And I think what the president meant when he said that let's take a second look at Masagana 99 and Biyayang Dagat was that he wanted DA to really focus on the two main things that the Filipino families would need on his table, rice and fish, or bayan for that matter.
Okay. Last two questions. Ted Tuvera of Tribune and then Rose Centenario of Hataw.
afternoon, Secretary. Sir, may last week po or 2 weeks ago may issue po na dun sa proposal ni DAR Secretary Rafael Mariano, yung moratorium on land conversion na yung mga agricultural lands, hindi muna siya pwedeng i-convert into other subdivisions, etc. Sir, meron pong, yun nga po, parang pagtatalo sa pagitan ng mga economic advisors ni Presidente at nung assertion nga po ni Secretary Mariano. Sir, ano po take natin dito, sir?
You know, there is no controversy there because I think the law is very clear. You cannot convert agricultural land to housing subdivisions. It's as simple as that. There's no need for a moratorium. It cannot really be allowed. No? And the law is very clear on that matter. And in fact, in the Department of Agriculture right now, we are very strict in evaluating a specific area being applied for to be converted into industrial purposes or housing subdivisions because of that law. So I really feel that there is no need for a moratorium. All that we need to do is just strictly implement the law.
Okay. Rose Centenario.
Ay, good afternoon, sir. Sir, gaano po katotoo yung ulat na may plano po ang administrasyon na buwagin yung National Food Authority?
Well, all of these things actually are discussed during our meetings. Hindi naman siguro bubuwagin. It's not really dismantling the NFA. What I heard from Secretary Leonzo Evasco Jr. was that they were trying to take a second look at NFA and maybe make it just a regulatory agency rather than a procurement agency. Because right now, we have to admit it, that the NFA actually could not really function as a price stabilization agency. You know, the NFA was initially created to buy a certain portion of the produce of the farmers in the hope that by doing that, it would be able to stabilize the price. No? Look, palay, for example, while the private traders are buying palay for 12, 13, 14, 15 pesos, the NFA is buying it at 17.50 per kilo, dried, 14% moisture content. But the problem is the NFA could only buy 5% of the total national produce. So it could not really make a dent, or it could not even threaten the traders. No? The capacity of NFA to stabilize the price is limited by its lack of funds. So right now, the thinking of some of the minds in the cabinet of the president is, let's face this reality. NFA could not function as a price stabilization agency. We might as well just make it a regulatory agency. NFA has been suffered losses in the amount of about 170 billion pesos. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And the only way for NFA to survive maybe is to write off that debt. No? Yun yung, kaya napag-usapan yung NFA. But hindi abolish, kundi just maybe reformat NFA into a more functional agency.
So, makakaasa po yung mga mahihirap na magkakaroon pa rin ng bigas sa merkado na katulad ng NFA rice price. Kasi po yun yung inaasahan ng mahihirap na yung kayang bigas na kaya nilang bilhin.
You know, Rose, the problem with the Philippine grains industry right now is that it is in the clutches of the traders. It is the trader who controls the buying price of the palay. It is the trader who controls and dictates the selling price of rice in the market. You know, we made a computation. If only we could directly sell the rice from the farmer to the end user under a concept which we now call communal farming, rice farming system, where we will sell directly to corporate buyers like San Miguel Corporation, or in fact, the DSWD, yung kanilang 4-piece program. The farmer could actually receive as much as 17.50 per kilo of palay, and the government could sell it, or the cooperative or the farmers association could sell it for as low as 32 to 35 pesos per kilo. Kung walang intervention ng mga middlemen sa traders. That's how big the bite of the traders and the middlemen is to the income of the farmers and the buying price of the end users. So if we could actually just make this intervention. And we're starting this actually. The president has already given his go signal for the implementation of the corporate rice farming, where we organize our rice farmers into cooperatives and associations. Land Bank will finance them for their good seeds, fertilizers, and then we will link them directly to the corporate buyers. In fact, next week, when I come back from a trip abroad, we will already meet with the captains of industries, because there are corporations now who would like to exercise their corporate social responsibility, the CSR, and they're saying that San Miguel, for example, San Miguel Corporation. I talked to Mr. Ramon Ang, and he said we would like to buy directly from the farmers. Para mawala na yung traders, yung supply nila sa mga empleyado nila. And so we're encouraging other corporations to do the same thing. Again, let me bring you back to the thing that President Marcos did. This was done by Marcos during his time, when he ordered corporations to plant rice for their employees. And this is the same concept, actually. This is the same concept where farmers now will be provided with support to have access to good seeds, fertilizers, and of course good water, and then harvest facilities, milling facilities, and they deal directly with corporations needing rice supply for their employees. We could even supply the soldiers if the president would say that he will give the soldiers an allowance of a rice allowance of 1 sack every month. That's a lot of customers for the Filipino rice farmers.
Ay, sir, sana po kukuha ng rice importation permit kung wala ng NFA.
NFA pa rin kasi regulatory body nga sila.
Okay. Ay, yung Price Stabilization Agency po, paano po yung function na yun ng NFA?
Well, as of the moment, we will have to really wait for the final review. I cannot jump the gun on those who are reviewing the setup that NFA should be placed under. No, until such time, hindi ko pwedeng i-preempt yung issue na yan.
Okay. Thank you very much, Department of Agriculture Secretary Manny
Thank
Piñol.
you. We will be distributing this if you need the data. Kompleto po ito. Everything. No. John, thank you.
Okay. We'd still be hearing a few statements from our presidential spokesperson, Secretary Abella.
All right. The president leaves tomorrow for Japan. Okay. It'll be on time to celebrate also the 60th anniversary of the renewal of ties between Japan and the Philippines. President Duterte will be discussing security, economic, and defense issues with the Prime Minister during the 3-day trip that is seen to continue the Philippines' efforts to bolster strategic partnerships with its Asian neighbors. President Duterte also plans to observe the Japanese shipbuilding process as maritime cooperation continues to prosper, said PCO ASEC Maribanaag in a press briefing. There will be at least 9 more vessels, apparently, that are about to be released. Also, BPO groups are trying to seek an audience with the president. We have not yet any formal word about the appointment, but basically it is to formally reach out to the office of president to indirectly discuss the industry situation from the government. But basically, we'd just like to say that there's, again, to reassure the industries that the separation is not severance of relationship, of economic ties. Regarding also the senior State Department official being in town, and they're trying to seek clarification from the Philippines about the separation remark. When they say it's not clear to us exactly what that means, we'd just like to clarify that it mainly refers now to the exercises. There are about 25 more small exercises and 3 major exercises, but the treaties remain in place. The treaties remain in place. I'd like to open now to a few questions.
Okay, Maricel Halili of TV5.
Hello. Yeah. So just to make it clear, so when you say separation of economic ties, you already said that there should be a balance of relationship and more independent foreign policy. But in a way, how will it affect the American business here in the Philippines as well as, well, for some Filipino workers in the U.S.?
Right. Again, let me just clarify. It was not a separation of. Basically a separation of from dependency. And basically, it was a declaration of independent. Again, it's a restatement of the independent foreign policy that the president has declared again and again. It is a. But there are no ties that are being broken, and there are no ties that are being broken. Okay.
So meaning there's no need of pulling out some businesses in the country.
There's no need to be pulling out any businesses in the country.
And our OFWs won't be affected in the
Our
US.
OFWs will not be affected. But basically, we're just saying that it's basically what he has been saying. It is from an exclusive to more inclusive relationship. Okay.
Okay, next question.
Yes.
Yes, sir, from Al Jazeera at the back.
The president's visit to Japan tomorrow, what are the prospects that it might lead to direct talks between Japan, the Philippines, and China over disputes in the South China Sea, as I believe the president has expressed he wants to achieve?
What's the question again?
What are the prospects that this visit will lead to direct talks between China, Japan, and the Philippines over disputes in the South China Sea?
Well, but the main agenda will be more not political but economic. So if it's referred to, it will be on the sidelines.
But I believe the president has said that he wants to see these trilateral talks. Is that right?
Basically, as far as we know at this stage, it is talking between the Philippines and Japan. Okay, and if there's anything at all, it may be exploratory. But at this stage, it is not part of the official agenda.
Does the recent statements by President Duterte, does it confuse the relationship between Japan and the Philippines, or how would you describe the relationship?
I think at this particular stage, there is a great appreciation of the president from the Japanese side. It seems to in the same manner apparently that somebody had described the presence of the president in China as being electric. Apparently, there is also a great anticipation of his visit.
Okay, from Weng de la Fuente of Net25, and then JP Bencito.
Good afternoon, sir. Some embassy officials who made a pre-departure briefing here last week said that Prime Minister Abe would seek explanation from the president about his new policy. Would the pilot see this as another intervention?
Which one?
With Prime Minister Abe seeking explanation of the president's new policy,
Of the
independent foreign
No, I
policy.
believe it's something that they appreciate. It's something that we will appreciate. It's a further clarification. It's not so much an intervention, but a clarification.
Okay, JP of the Manila Standard.
Hi, sir. Sir, on the Scarborough Shoal issue,
Yes.
sir, were there any conditions laid out by China during the bilateral talks or during the private meeting with the president?
Those are two different conversations.
Yes, sir.
During the bilateral talks, both nations agreed that if contentious issues would not be necessarily be discussed during that particular time, it could be set aside for another period of time. But the main priority were economic talks. It may be, however, it may have been raised. It may have been raised during the one-on-ones, as has been referred to by Secretary Manny Piñol. Yes.
Sir, can I go to another issue, local, dito po sa Pilipinas?
Yes.
Sir, there seems to be a juggle between the possessions in the Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority. The President recently appointed SBMA Chair Martin Dino for the position, but there seems to be confusion within the ranks because an undersecretary or assistant secretary within the department has issued a office memorandum saying that he is the chair of the SBMA or the administrator of the SBMA. Sir, can we get a clarification who really has the authority? And just to give a background, there has been court case filed within Olongapo contesting the appointment of Dino.
All right. We'll seek clarification regarding the matter, and we'll give you the answer in a few days.
Okay. Sir, on another, sorry. Sir, we'd just like to confirm, one of the agreements that were signed in China was a road segment for the NAIA between the BCDA and a Chinese company. It's the China Road and Bridge Corporation. Sir, but during the Senate hearing, sir, the Department of Transportation told Senator Recto that there is no contractor that has already been approved for the project. Sir, when did these companies had this green light to proceed with the construction, or how with the construction of the BRT projects for the
So your question specifically is about what?
is there already a green light, sir, from the DOTR for the new projects, sir?
Which
The-
new projects?
The bus rapid transit, sir, for the NAIA segment.
Okay. We'll find out also about that, okay? It's something that has to be cleared with the Department of Transportation.
Sir, last na lang po dun sa ano pong yun. Doesn't it, yung China Road and Bridge Corporation, it's a World Bank blacklisted contractor. So doesn't it raise some sort of apprehensions na we're contracting with a company that has been somehow committing fraudulent practices in the past?
All of these things will still have to be reviewed and have to go through the right processes, although there were agreements that were signed. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next
Okay.
question from Joseph Morrow.
Sir, konti lang sa BPO. It seems that they're worried, no?
They were
Is the
concerned,
palace open to meeting them?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir, sa foreign aid, what's our attitude now from sa foreign aid as far as foreign aid goes? Kasi yung sa Lawin, we were able to get by,
Right.
pero not naman wishing for it. Pero if we have another Yolanda, what's going to be our attitude?
Well, as Secretary Judith Aguiwala said earlier, that just as long as we're open to, naturally, we're open to help, to aid from outside, just as long as there are no strings attached. That's the way they put it. Thank you.
Sir, former President Ramos already also again wrote something that, just to paraphrase it what it said, but less talk is better for the president.
That is the former president's opinion, and of course he's very free. We consider him a senior statesman. We listen to him. However, we continue to forge ahead. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Karen of Reuters, and then Henry of, Karen.
That's two. Yes. Karen.
Sir, under the previous government, Manila and Tokyo began talks on a possible visiting forces agreement
Yes.
that will allow Japan to make use of Philippine military bases to refuel ships and planes. Will this go ahead under
it-
the Duterte administration?
I'm sure it will be subject to review.
It will be subject to review.
So,
And how will Manila pursue, or will Manila pursue deeper security ties with Japan?
they will go through all they'll go through all the parts of the relationship between the two nations. I'm sure. I suppose it's going to be part of the things that will be talked about.
Sir, last point na lang. I just
Yes.
want to get an official response or a response from the office of the spokesperson, because we've heard the U.S. Assistant Secretary of State already speak today, and he said he referred to some of the president's controversial statements, which he said have created confusion. He said other countries, but he didn't mention who, apart from the United States, are really concerned because of these statements. And he also expressed concern over the loss of lives in the government's anti-narcotics campaign, saying that this is not a positive trend, and this is bad for business. Can
Well,
we get a response? Thank you.
You know, it's not a new line. It's something that the U.S. and the Western alignment have referred to again and again. However, the president already has made already his position clear regarding that there is no state-sanctioned policy regarding these alleged extrajudicial killings, and even the Senate itself has made reference to that and absolved the president in their own particular investigation of the matter. And again, we specify that the relationship, the Philippines will not renege on its treaties that have been made with its established allies. However, like the president has said again and again, that he will continue in his independent foreign policy. In other words, bring into inclusion within the ambit of our relationships other nations and other friendly, especially Asian nations, with whom specifically we share cultural values of non-interference, mutual support, and coordination. It's a point that the president particularly refers to, that we particularly treasure, value relationships along these lines: non-interference, mutual support, and cooperation. Sige. Yes.
EO daw po sa Bangsamoro Transition Commission and EO on the expanded powers of the OPAP na sign na.
We'll also check on that and we'll get it back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Presidential Spokesperson Secretary Ernesto Abella, and to our guests earlier, Agriculture Secretary Manny Piñol and DSWD Secretary Judith Tagiwalo. Thank you also, friends from the local and foreign media. Back to the main studio of PTV4 and Radyo ng Bayan.